afternoon, lords, ladies, knights, squires, peasants, and dungeon dwellers. Welcome back to Maverick Baking and welcome back to another chocolate review. Today I am getting my teeth happily stuck into some Italian chocolate. Now this is a brand I have never heard of before. Never heard of when I was living in the UK. I'd never seen when I was visiting Italy. Only since moving to Italy and poking my head into a couple of more major supermarkets here did I find this brand. Now, it may be available elsewhere in Europe. Do let me know in the comments if you've heard of it. But the brand I'm talking about, and the brand I hope I haven't wasted all of my money on, is Vialetto. And today I am going to be tasting 4 carefully selected flavours from their very big chocolate bar range to let you guys know whether it's worth your money. I picked 2 of their classic flavours, being the dark chocolate and their classic milk chocolate, and I also obviously had to try 2 of their flavoured bars. A dark chocolate bar with red fruits and a milk chocolate bar with hazelnuts. But shall we get started with the dark chocolate? As always, I'll have kind of timestamps and chapters up so you can skip ahead if you're not interested in the milk chocolate or the dark chocolate, so you can just find out which ones you want to find out about. Each bar has its own kind of character that has some kind of connection or representation with the flavour. On the dark 72% cocoa chocolate bar, they have Il Fondatore, which is Italian for the founder. And on this one, we have Osvaldo, who appears to be a very flamboyant man with a moustache. As I said, this one we're going to start with is a 72% dark chocolate. That's a fairly standard, regular dark chocolate bar. The ingredients are looking pretty promising. We have nothing but cocoa paste, sugar, cocoa butter, an emulsifier, and some vanilla. No horrible vegetable oils hiding in there, and hopefully some very nice dark chocolate. Gorgeous kind of cardboard packaging, which is very common here in the EU, more so than in the UK, I would say, and containing a lovely crispy ASMR silver foil wrapping inside. So I should quickly mention that each of these bars were around 100 grams and they cost me €2 each. So not really kind of craft chocolate prices, super fair trade, super ethical prices, but this appears to be in a kind of mid-range, aiming at higher quality chocolate marketing, I would say. But inside you can see this beautiful patterned and molded chocolate on there. Hopefully it will be picking up in the light. Lovely kind of shine to the front and a beautiful, beautiful texture. Anyway, let's taste the Vialetto dark chocolate. That is a beautifully smooth dark chocolate for that price range. This, for just €2 for 100 grams, is pretty impressive. You can taste that there's some vanilla extract in there, which does always help to kind of round out the flavours and make it a bit smoother. But you can tell that there's been some care taken with the actual chocolate here. And equally, it is smooth. Not only in the flavour, but in the texture. It doesn't feel gritty, it doesn't feel uneven. It's nice and smooth, it melts nicely in your mouth. And while it's lovely and strong with cocoa flavour, as a 72% cocoa bar would be, it keeps you wanting to come back for more. Which is, in my opinion, a pretty good sign with dark chocolate. Like a strong cup of coffee, it lingers in your mouth, but doesn't make you want to brush your teeth, if that makes sense. Overall, a very simple, but very, very satisfying dark chocolate bar, especially for the price. It's not the most complex and exciting chocolate I've ever tasted in my life, but for the availability and the accessibility, that's a solid 5 out of 5 for me. Moving on to the other dark chocolate bar we have in here. Now this is a flavoured bar. This bar is fondente con frutti rossi, dark with red fruits. So from this we can expect a dark chocolate bar with a red fruit cream in the middle. It's the same weight as the other bar. It looks a little bit smaller, but because this appears to be filled, it's a bit thicker and shorter. Again, thankfully, the main ingredient is cocoa mass, followed by sugar, cocoa butter, milk powder, a bit of hazelnut, which is unexpected, some fruit and vegetable concentrates, and flavourings of blueberry, raspberry, and black currant, as well as some vanilla. So I'm very intrigued to see how this is going to be. I can't imagine it being very sweet because Italian palates typically aren't catered towards super sweet things, but we'll find out. So we open it up to a totally different design to the first bar, and immediately a very welcoming red fruit smell. Let's see if I can give you guys a close-up of that. You have kind of leaves of dark chocolate sitting on top of that red fruit coloured chocolate underneath, and a layer of dark chocolate at the back. I don't know if that's going to be soft, but you can hopefully see that the dark chocolate is kind of shiny while that red fruit part is very matte. It smells incredible. It does smell nice and fruity, but there's also obviously a very kind of rich chocolate smell coming from there too. There isn't too much of a snap, but there is a little bit. I forgot to let you hear the beautiful snap of that first bar though. Listen to this. Glorious. Let's taste the Osvaldo red fruit bar and see how it is. This is some classy chocolate. Smoother, creamier, and even more balanced than I expected. I think when you hear there's going to be fruit in chocolate, you expect sweet. You expect the horrors of the orange and strawberry cream Cadbury Roses or Quality Streets, for example. This is fruit and chocolate done right. Nothing too sweet, but nothing too kind of sour either. Lovely kind of creamy melting balance between both. There's a really, really small amount of sugar in this bar for a kind of fruity or flavored bar. And you can tell, you can barely even taste that this is dark chocolate, and I mean that as a compliment. There's a lovely cocoa flavor, but it doesn't taste heavy, it doesn't taste strong or too powerful. While I'm not usually the biggest fan of fruit and chocolate together, this is done well, and I would quite happily sit and gluttonously devour the rest of this bar. So I'm going to again have to give this Vialetto Frutti Rossi bar a 5 out of 5. With all of the joy in the world. With just 2 more bars to taste, let's get stuck into the classic Vialetto milk chocolate. Their latte, 32%. Sugar, cocoa butter, whole milk powder, cocoa mass, whey powder, a little bit of emulsifier, and a little bit of vanilla. Very nice to see that there's no vegetable fats included in there. The whey powder, however, concerns me slightly because it can make for quite a gritty feeling and tasting milk chocolate. But let's give this the benefit of the doubt after the dark chocolate. We open up to some lovely silver foil again, and we have that beautiful, almost kind of honeycomb design again on the milk chocolate with that gorgeous, gorgeous shine and all of those neatly sectioned off pieces with a good smell. Not too much of a kind of cocoa-y smell. I'm wondering if this is going to be much more milk heavy, but let's see how it tastes. As expected, sweet and incredibly milky. The quickest way to describe this bar would be posh Kinder. Really, really heavy emphasis on the milkiness of this milk chocolate. And that might sound so obvious that it's actually stupid, but by that I mean the chocolate itself is almost gone in all of the milkiness, both in the milk powder and in that whey powder. Unfortunately, what it doesn't have that a good milk chocolate typically does have is that melting smoothness, that creaminess, the thing that keeps you addicted to mainstream bars such as Galaxy or as Milka, for example. This is a bit closer to Cadbury in texture, nowhere near as bad, but there is that slight kind of chalkiness to the texture that comes from the sugar, the milk powder, and the whey powder, because you just can't get that kind of natural chocolate smoothness with all of that stuff in there, even with the emulsifier added. Don't get me wrong, it's very, very easy to eat. Super comforting, super milky, and granted it is considerably less sweet than other milk chocolate bars, even though it does have a pretty chunky sugar content. Overall, it's good. I've certainly had worse milk chocolate. Is it the best? No, especially considering that the other 2 bars were so good. I'm going to give the Vialetto milk chocolate a 3 out of 5. Shall we move on to the flavoured milk chocolate though, and test our last bar for today's video, being the latte and fondente con granelle di nocciole. Milk and dark with hazelnut bits. And again, the ingredients aren't looking too bad. We have cocoa mass, sugar, 15% hazelnuts, which is pretty decent. That's more so than the likes of Nutella, for example. Cocoa butter, milk powder, whey powder, an emulsifier, and some natural vanilla flavouring. So again, a 100 gram bar, but I think we're going to have that kind of patterned deeper bar like we did with the berries. Yes, again, apologies, I have broken this one in my impatience, but this one we have a much more kind of matte finish. It looks like this is the same pattern all the way through with some serious kind of hazelnutty smell. You can see the milk and the hazelnut there and the dark on the back with just some little pieces of hazelnut peeking through and that kind of dark chocolate there behind. Now, still a pretty decent snap considering that there is a kind of inclusion in that chocolate, and it looks like we have about a pretty even distribution of milk and dark chocolate. Let's see if this hazelnut bar is any good though. If there's any ingredient that you can trust Italians with, it's hazelnuts. Rough, rustic, and almost savory in that nuttiness. The hazelnuts really give you a very much welcome punch in the mouth. They're in significant kind of crunchy pieces, not just little dust or liquefied completely into gianduja. And they are the real overpowering flavor here. The milk chocolate beside the dark chocolate and the hazelnut is lost. It's gone. Goodbye. It really doesn't need to be there. But the dark chocolate and the hazelnut together are just like a big grown-up party on your tongue. You've got the bold chocolate and that almost kind of sweet and savory vibe that the two give when you've got the hazelnuts in there as well. It's like a kind of sophisticated Ferrero Rocher experience. It's got the texture, it's got the creaminess, it's got the nuttiness, it's got the sweetness, it's got the chocolatiness, but everything's just a bit more elevated and a bit more mature, you know? Perhaps if it was all dark chocolate, it might be a little bit too overwhelming in kind of the thickness of the actual bar, but the milk chocolate is a little bit redundant, which seems to be a bit of a thing with this brand so far. But as I mentioned, if there's anything that Italians do well, it's hazelnuts and chocolate together. Those hazelnuts are delicious and they work very, very well with the chocolate. Is it the best chocolate and hazelnut bar I've ever eaten? Probably not, but is it chocolate and hazelnuts done pretty decently? Absolutely. The taste is good, the texture is good, and it delivers what it says it's going to do. It's a 4 out of 5. Overall, I think the lesson we have learned from today's review is that if you're going to pick up some Vialetto, pick up their dark chocolate. Because the milk chocolate is fine, but not quite justifiable for the price, whereas the dark chocolate for the price feels like a steal. Like a bargain, really. But overall, I'm pretty impressed and I'll be very happy to nip back to the supermarket to pick up some more flavours. If you have tried Vialetto or if you've seen the brand, do let me know in the comments. I would love to know your thoughts. If not, just let me know which of these bars you would be getting your teeth into first. But I'm afraid that is all I have time for today, my loves. Thank you as always for watching. Don't forget, if you haven't already, that you can subscribe to the channel for even more chocolate reviews, easy recipes, vlogs, and all sorts of other foodie content. And if you're feeling that way inclined, you can even support the channel on Patreon. Link is always in the description box below. But that is what I'm going to wrap up for you guys just now. Thank you as ever for being here. I genuinely and fully appreciate it every single time one of you clicks, and I will see you for the next one.